Travis. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's regional news. We begin with some news from the Pan American Health Organization. While COVID-19 deaths and infections in the Americas regions over the past week are at the lowest level since the pandemic began 2 years ago, the World Health Organization's regional arm warned Wednesday that countries should not think the pandemic is over. COVID-19 remains a threat in Latin America and the Caribbean, where some countries are still struggling against vaccine hesitancy, falsehoods, and other misinformation to boost vaccination rates. The Pan American Health Organization officials said this is not the time to lower your guard, said Dr. Chiro Ugarte, the Director of Health Emergencies for PAHO. There are still millions of cases and tens of deaths per week. PAHO's warning comes as Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay join some European countries in dropping mandatory use of face masks, and a federal judge in Florida on Monday voided the federal mask mandate for airplanes and other modes of public transportation. Across the Caribbean, countries like Jamaica, Haiti, and Cuba have also eased COVID-19 testing requirements for travelers. Last week, the Americas region, which also includes the US, Mexico, and Canada, reported more than 490,527 COVID cases, nearly a 2.3% decrease compared to the prior week. Dr. Carissa Etienne, PAHO's director, said Wednesday during her regular press briefing with regional journalists on the state of the pandemic. A total of 4,779 deaths were recorded, representing a 15.2% decrease compared with the previous week. As proof that the virus remains present and a public health threat, Etienne noted that in North America, COVID-19 infections increased by 11.2%. In Canada, hospitalizations rose by more than 20% as the proportion of Omicron BA.2 variant cases grew in the country. Over to news from Cuba. 2 days before the opening of the migration talks between Cuba and the United States, which have been paralyzed for 4 years, a high-ranking Cuba official lamented Washington's incoherent and differentiated migration policies and exhorted Washington to comply with current agreements. The migration meeting will take place amid a dramatic increase in arrivals of Cubans at the southern border of the United States. Deputy Foreign Minister Josefina Vidal said, and I quote, "We are noticing, and now much more these days, that there is a differentiated and incoherent approach by the United States toward the migratory issue. The U.S. is financially helping many countries in the region in order to reactivate their economies to help them create jobs, including supporting health and education projects," said Vidal. Washington's policy is exactly the opposite with Cuba, where it is applying maximum pressure on the economic order through coercive measures. According to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, in the last 6 months, Cubans were stopped 79,800 times at the southern U.S. border, a little more than double that number seen in the entire 2021 fiscal year and 5 times more than 2020. On Tuesday, Vidal presented a gloomy picture. Cuban authorities have said that in the last 5 years, Washington has failed to comply with the part of the bilateral agreement that establishes the delivery of 20,000 visas per year. And now for some international news from Puerto Rico. Authorities in Puerto Rico said Tuesday that an electronic toll collection system was the target of a cyber attack over the weekend, the latest such incident in recent years. The system, known as Auto Expresso, is run by a private operator called Professional Account Management. It wasn't immediately clear when the system would be back online and whether any confidential information was stolen. The incident reported Saturday comes 3 months after an attack crippled the internet provider, phone system, and official online page of Puerto Rico's Senate. Previously, in 2021, a cyber attack hit the website of a private company that took over the transmission and distribution of electricity in the U.S. territory. Meanwhile, in 2020, an online scam tried to steal more than $4 million from Puerto Rican government agencies, forcing authorities to freeze nearly $3 million. That same year, hackers targeted the database of Puerto Rico's fire department and demanded $600,000 in an alleged extortion act. That has brought us to the end of tonight's regional news. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.